And I said 10:03, so I'm going to stick to my guns. We're going to get going because we've got quite a bit to cover today, and we don't want to keep everyone just listening to our overly witty banter. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So Lee, if you want to go to the next slide. For those of you who aren't familiar with Hugs, they do tend to follow a certain format. We're going to do a quick introduction. The meat of it is obviously the presentation, where we're going to cover the 10 blue links are dead. We will leave time at the end for Q&A. If you do have questions throughout, I will try to keep an eye on chat, but there will be a designated time as well. So don't worry. If you want to wait and do it all together with everyone else, that's fine as well. And then we do have a conclusion where we're going to talk wrap up and a little bit about the next hug. So should be a good overall morning. Thank you everyone for joining us.
You.
Well, that's not what we wanted.
Hold on.
So the next slide is the introduction slide. While she's fixing that, I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into it. My name is Angelique DuPhene, and I am the Lansing HubSpot user group leader here. That is not the reason why I am one of the presenters, though. I'm actually the Chief Operating Officer of InVerve Marketing, where we have been leaning very heavily into AI, GEO, all of these really new emerging technologies. So I, along with my coworker here, Lee Edgington, are going to be talking a little bit about that today. And I'm going to let Lee do a little bit of an introduction for herself as well. She's really the brilliant mind here behind a lot of this research and the deep dive into this topic.
Don't let my technical default here fool you. That is true information. I am Lee Edgington. I'm very excited to be here. If you joined us for the last hug, then you're already familiar with me and my dragging ons about very technical stuff. If this is your first time, welcome. We're going to hit you with a lot of really cool stuff, and then we're going to show you how you can apply it today, as soon as you leave, to the things that you're already doing.
You can just slide right past this one. We already got it.
All right. So the 10 blue links are dead. That sounds kind of scary, but the gist of it is, for nearly 2 decades, SEO has really revolved around a single objective, and that is ranking in Google's top 10. The first page, those 10 blue links, ideally in the top 3 or the first position, but that game has really changed with the release of AI. So today, searchers are really seeing AI-generated summaries. They're getting quick answers, and they're having conversational responses with an AI instead of getting this list of links and perusing that information themselves. In fact, Gen Z isn't even starting with Google as their search engine. 64% of those searches are actually starting on TikTok. And the top 3 search competitors for Google right now are TikTok, YouTube, and ChatGPT. So the way we have to look at search is really fundamentally changing, because 65% of Google searches end without a click. So we're really looking at fighting that zero-click battle. And with tools like ChatGPT and Google Gemini, the users aren't seeing those links at all for the most part. They're getting a synthesized answer. And this is the biggest disruption that we've really had in SEO and in digital marketing since Google Ads launched. And for you guys as HubSpot marketers, that old playbook for inbound marketing no longer guarantees your visibility because of this new dynamic. So we really have to shift gears and optimize to not only work for the search engines that we've always worked for, but now these new search engines that are generative, that are deciding what sources to trust and cite. They're giving a singular answer. It's definitive, and people don't generally move beyond that.
So why does this matter? HubSpot's inbound model depends on attracting people to the website with your content, then converting them into leads. But AI search changes this game. If your content isn't being selected and synthesized into answers, it may as well not exist. That means fewer visitors, fewer form fills, fewer workflows, and fewer deals in your CRM. Customers today aren't just Googling, they're asking ChatGPT, watching YouTube, following creators, skimming G2 and Reddit, texting peers. If we're not present in these answers and ecosystems, visibility is going to be shrinking dramatically.
Absolutely. So let's cover a little bit of the history of SEO, because that's going to inform as we're entering into this new phase called GEO, or Generative Search Optimization. SEO is always going to matter, but GEO is taking it further. Instead of only asking, how do I rank? You're now going to ask, how do I become a source that AI trusts enough to cite? And that GEO experience is about being referenced, not just ranked. So let's look at the evolution in context. We have the first Google search in 1998. And for about 10 years, it's kind of a rat race while we grow through the infantile experience of SEO. It's keyword ranking, it's backlinks, it's putting out content, not necessarily the best content, but putting it out there. And then as we develop into the early 2000s and 2010s, we're really starting to see more focus. Google prioritizes EAT and user experience. And we see a lot of shift towards a reduction in spam content and quality in the late 2010s, early 2020s. And then post-COVID is when the AI tools like ChatGPT really started to disrupt search, and they're giving direct answers. They're learning the more that they're getting incorporated and used, and they're getting more advanced as time goes on. And then late 2023, generative engine optimization starts to emerge as a discipline that SEOs are talking about, but at a very surface level because we really didn't know how it was going to turn out. And then we start to see how AI is parsing and trusting and citing content, and that informs the last year. And 2024, 2025 has really been a rat race where agencies and brands are adopting GEO as a principal discipline of SEO. And that's a really important part. You're not scrapping your SEO strategies to do this. This is one hand helps the other. These are going to build on each other. You're going to use the same principles of quality content to get the result from GEO that you are from SEO. And in the future, as these converge, you're going to continue combining your traffic goals with your AI visibility. Now, when I talk about generative engine optimization, that's a kind of an umbrella term. It's fits in there with a lot of other terms that are getting thrown around in this ecosystem, and it might be a little bit confusing. So I want to talk about what each of these different forms of what we call large language models is doing for you. And I'm going to do it in the context of a blog post because that's really the bread and butter of SEO and one of the first places that you can start to apply this logic. So GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization, is making sure that your blog post shows up in ebooks, reports, newsletters. So when AI generates a market trend summary or something like that, your post is going to get cited as part of that narrative. When you're talking about AEO, that's Answer Engine Optimization. This is structuring your blog post so that AI can instantly pull the top 3 benefits of email marketing are. And it's going to be a clean, direct excerpt ready for answer boxes pulled right in for you. AIO, or AI Overviews, Google SGE, is probably what you're most familiar with if you're already aware of this, because this is our initial experience and where it really got fleshed out for SEOs. This is very complementary to AEO, and it's positioning your blog post so that when someone searches the best email marketing strategies, the overview that highlights your content is the quick snapshot or the stat that gets pulled in and presented. Oh,
you're just jumping ahead now.
It's a busy mouse. I changed the battery this morning, and I probably shouldn't have done that. So RAG is retrieval augmented generation, and that's making sure that your blog post is stored in the library that AI is going to use. And those are unique across different services. So ChatGPT is not using the same library that Google Gemini is, or that Copilot is going to use. So you're making sure that when a user asks a question, regardless of where they're asking it from the AI, you're going to be the answer that is retrieved, and you're going to get blended into what's served. When we talk about prompt SEO, this is writing your blog post so that it's going to align with how users are going to phrase a query, because it's no longer just a keyword. You want to have it much more long tail. It wants to be conversational or query based. So it's going to be something like the step-by-step guide to email drip campaigns. And you want your content favored when a prompt for that kind of question is issued. And then we have citation optimization, which is ensuring that when the AI cites an email drip campaign improves open rates by 45%, it's going to attribute it to your blog post, not a competitor's or an aggregate's. And we're going to dig a little bit into the strategies of how you accomplish each of these.
Ooh, I don't know about you guys, but my head's spinning a little with all those acronyms. So let's get into some of the details, right? How do you make this happen? How do you start diving into geo? How do you make it work for you? To succeed, you need more than content, you need trust signals. That means authoritative authorship and credentials, original, verifiable research and data, schema markup, tables, transcripts for machine readability, and consistency across platforms and formats. And I know that seems daunting and a lot. We will break this down more. These elements help AI engines recognize you as reliable and a quotable source, which AI cares about. And while these may seem like vague goals, we're going to break them down into 4 key focus areas, what you see here on the screen: branded search, content strategy, structure, and navigation. Structure and navigation, and linking and digital PR. Make no mistake, each of these 4 areas is going to inform and enforce one another. This is an ecosystem you're building. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
All right, so we start with branded search. These are going to be queries that you own. So the starting point is absolutely going to be to not dominate every search, but to focus on the right searches. We recognize that this is a new frontier, so we want to start with what you know best. That's your own business, your branded queries. The strongest foundation you can build is the dominance in your own brand. So concentrate on your name, your products, your services, and your trademarks. You want to ensure that you own them across all platforms, including AI-generated summaries, not just on your website or your own social media. This is really important because AI tends to favor and trust specific branded content, which makes it much more likely to surface in search results. And the narrower your focus is, the greater your chances are of being cited. So rather than pursuing hundreds of generic keywords because they're high volume, you might want to consider shifting your gear more towards valuable business terms that you want to use or that your customers are using, and strategize around those to win and protect a much smaller but a more meaningful branded space initially. The second spoke here is content strategy. That's always going to be integral when we talk about inbound marketing, and especially in content in a GEO world. The basics of SEO are still going to matter. So how we apply them is what's going to change. You can't just crank out a blog and hope that one's going to stick because you keep churning them out until one's good. Instead, you really need to have that intentional ecosystem that Angie was talking about, where content covers the entire funnel. So this is short form content really doesn't cut it anymore. If you want to be the featured answer, you're looking at long form content, 1,500 words or more generally. And I know that we went through a phase of that with SEO and we kind of shifted away from it, but you really want to expand on that more. And then you want to make that content really clippable. So you need to have those in-depth pieces of content that span multiple topic clusters, and you're going to be able to demonstrate your expertise in the industry that way. A comprehensive coverage is going to build your authority by showing that you not only have a deep understanding of the subject, but that you can lead others on a journey from the introduction to the commitment with your business. And of course, your domain authority is really still important, as are your social signals and your overall audience engagement, because all of that contributes to AI's perception of you, and then it informs the answers that they're going to provide to searchers. And this is really why winning in GEO requires coverage across that entire funnel that you see here. So when we talk about the top of the funnel, that's where your informational content comes in, your long form blogs, your guides, your videos, anything that will position you as a thought leader and get you into broad searches. And then middle of the funnel, your navigational and your contextual content. That's going to be things like comparison pages, platform reviews, or transcripts from podcasts and webinars. This is where you need to show authority in specific contexts and be discoverable in spaces like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or even Reddit. And yes, hashtags are back in play because Meta and Instagram is indexing content now. So this is a great way to connect the tendons of what you're doing for topic clusters. And then, of course, the bottom of the funnel, the spot we really care about, that's your transactional content. This is case studies, demos, product pages, your pricing breakdowns. These is what's going to make you visible when people are ready to purchase. And this is where the big shift is, because if you skip any of these layers, AI is going to fill that gap in with someone else's content. So consistency across the funnel tells engines this brand not only knows the topic, they can take someone from curiosity all the way to conversion. So don't think in terms of isolated blogs anymore. Think in clusters and ecosystems in an overall narrative that you're selling, because that's what GEO is really going to reward moving forward. Now, when we talk about structure, this is a much more unglamorous but absolutely essential side of generative engine optimization. Because here's the reality. Even the best content can fall flat if it isn't structured in a way that humans and now AI can parse. So think of your website as scaffolding. Without clear structure, schema, and logical connections, your content is basically invisible. So there's a few pillars of that here. You're talking your schema markup. If you haven't already implemented schema or open graph on your website, you're behind, because schema is a universal language that tells AI exactly what your page is about. This is articles, FAQ, products, events. Every piece of that content should be wrapped in structured data. This just isn't optional anymore. And there's been a lot of back and forth about that, but you have to commit to it and you have to sell it. When it comes to clusters and interlinking, topic clusters aren't just a nice SEO strategy. They're going to be how AI builds the knowledge networks in your space. So when your content is interlinked around pillar pages, you're signaling depth and expertise instead of scattered surface level posts that look like you know what you're talking about. This is really where you're going to connect your topic clusters across the funnel like we discussed. Then you have accessibility and readability. This is AI it loves clean inputs. It's a computer, it's a machine. It wants the easiest way to collect information and accelerate that growth and understanding. So if you have clean HTML, you have logical headings, you have semantic markup, descriptive alt text, transcripts, all of this is going to inform the AI. And if you don't know how to implement those, there should be someone on your team who knows what all of those words I just said meant. And they can roll that out for you or talk you through how to do that. Plain language doesn't mean it's dumbed down. It just means it's really clear for the machine to understand. And then we talk about extraction-friendly content. So that's taking it a step further and really applying that AEO or answer engine optimization strategy. You need content that can be lifted directly off the page easily by the AI. So you're talking bullet points, tables, direct answers, table of contents, or a sidebar to help navigate through content. Don't bury the lead of what you're selling. Make your expertise really extractable. It may be long form, but it should still be easy to pick up in snippets and pull out the really valuable pieces along the way. So put simply, it's a bridge between good content and AI usable content. So if your scaffolding is weak, the engines aren't going to trust you, even if your insights are really brilliant. And that would be a big shame. So then the last component here is where we move into authority. So this is really where GEO is going to raise the stakes of what you've been doing with your SEO strategy. Backlinks and PR aren't dead. In fact, they might even be more applicable now and easier to attain, but the purpose behind them has evolved. So it's no longer about pumping link juice into your website. It's about proving to the AI engine that you're a credible, trustworthy resource. And we've been harping on that for the last 25 minutes. The shift is really that you want to be cited by a reputable outlet or an academic resource or someone in your industry that's really known, because the AI engine is going to notice that. It's going to pick it up and it's going to see that as a trust signal. When you publish original research or run a survey that applies something new or discovers something new in your industry, that's going to get picked up, and that's going to be another trust signal. It's going to tell AI that you're doing something new. You're adding something to the conversation. When you showcase authorship and have visible credentials for the content that you're creating, then you're showcasing to the AI that you're an authority, and you're training it to continue surfacing your content when you bring it out. So this is really where SEO and GEO are kind of going to diverge. In SEO, you could kind of hack your way to the top with keyword targeting and link building, and you could kind of pay your way into the conversation with ads if you needed to grease the wheels. But in GEO right now, you can't buy your way into AI answers. There's absolutely a conversation and a strategy being formed around ads. If we can monetize the digital space, we will. So have no fear, ads will arrive in AI search engines. I think it'll look something like a sponsored answer with a link. But right now, you just simply can't do that. So the placement is really going to depend on credibility patterns over time. So what that looks like in practice is elevating your authorship. You want to show your experts' faces, their bios, their credentials. AI needs to know that there's a real authority behind the words, not just a name and a picture for an author that has nothing behind it. As far as original data, you're looking at surveys, studies, unique insights, because AI is really going to favor that unique original content that isn't just rehashed or parroted back from someone else. Citations and mentions, if other people in your industry are referencing you, academic resources are referencing, you're being talked about in forums like Reddit, that's how your authority is going to compound on those topic clusters. And then, of course, consistency. This is incredibly important. One good post isn't going to move the needle. You're going to need a really good body of work that reinforces your credibility across those topics you want to own, and that's going to build over time. So think of AI as a librarian. It doesn't want random blog spam. It wants sources it can cite confidently over and over again from you. And your job in this GEO space is to be that reliable, quotable expert moving forward.
Oh, my turn again. So everyone here, I would hope, understands the value and importance of a brand and building a brand. Part of that is brand architecture, which has also always mattered, but maybe doesn't always have the same kind of visibility as the general concept of brand. In the AI era, however, this is mission critical. We've got a couple of different models for how you can approach this brand architecture, and it's visually laid out here. I think it makes it pretty clear how we're talking about it, right? In a branded house, all of your authority is consolidated under one identity. So we've got Google here. You've got Google Books, Google Groups, Google Videos, Google Translate. It's all Google. It makes it easier to dominate those branded queries and show up consistently in those AI answers. Now, in a house of brands, as you see with our P&G example here, your authority gets a little fragmented. Each brand has to fight its own battle for credibility. It works for massive players like P&G here because it creates an authority ceiling. So Tide is a household name. Maybe you don't even know who P&G is because it's that parent brand that kind of hides. It's the products that you're aware of. Each of these products is pretty dramatically different. They need their own brand to thrive, right? So the house of brands makes sense for a company like P&G. Neither is automatically better. Your choice will directly affect, though, how AI is perceiving your credibility. This needs to be considered first and foremost when you're going into a GEO strategy. And we'll get to hybrid in just a minute as we go to the next slide. So for most small to mid-size HubSpot users, the branded house strategy is going to be the best fit. One strong identity that AI can recognize and trust. HubSpot itself is a great example of this with Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, Service Hub. They all ladder up to that one big HubSpot brand. The branded house really does translate to that shared credibility. It's efficient authority. The house of brands works if you serve multiple niches like that P&G example. It does require major resources, though, to avoid dilution. The hybrid model, if you're going to use this model, the parent brand is really going to carry that authority. The sub-brands build niche credibility. So think Alphabet. It's got Google, YouTube, Waymo. The key to clarity is whichever approach you're taking, the schema, authorship, linking, it all must connect the dots between the parent and the sub-brands so that the AI engine recognizes those relationships. So take a moment, step back, ask yourself, do you want to spread your authority thin or concentrate it for maximum AI visibility?
So in the old SEO world, we tracked organic sessions and keyword rankings, and that kind of informed on how we were doing. But in GEO, those kind of become more arbitrary, and you need to track different signals. Gartner recently reported that 82% of marketing leaders think that AI-generated answers are reducing their visibility in traditional search. And I do feel that that's accurate. And that means that we really do need new benchmarks, not just the page views, but presence inside of the AI outputs has to be considered in how we're overall doing in share of voice. So that visibility and presence, that's how often is your content being cited in the AI answers? What percentage of branded queries do you own in your space? What share of voice do you have in AI summaries? These are the questions you need to be asking and thinking about the metrics and the content that are really going to inform there. As far as engagement and quality, the click-through that you get from AI answers is going to tell you a bit about how well you're being served, what queries are really performing. Time on page and answer extractability are also going to inform on how well you're performing. AI systems may indirectly consider your user engagement, particularly in connection with your search analytics, but you're really looking at high dwell time, low bounce rates. Your high interaction levels are going to be seen as indicators that you're creating valuable content that the AI thinks is worth sharing. When we talk about authority and competitiveness, this is branded mentions. This is quality backlinks, your snippet rank versus competitors. These are a lot harder to measure today, but AI tools are coming out from a lot of the big brand names to try to help you discover what these KPIs are and measure them in real time. So that's really going to define your success as you're moving into this new strategy. It's not about how many people visited our page as we're fighting the zero-click war. It's how often is our expertise showing up in the answers themselves. So here's the good news. If you're already using HubSpot, which you guys should be, then you've got the tools to help operationalize your GEO strategy right now today. The SEO Recommendations tool is fantastic. I use it very regularly with almost all of our clients because it helps make sure that your site is technically sound so AI can crawl and interpret it. And this is universal across all subscription levels. So it doesn't matter where you're at. You can go ahead and go and use this today. When we talk about Content Hub, this is going to help you build your pillar content, your topic clusters, and it's really perfectly built for AI optimization because it demonstrates depth and authority. You do have the basic tools such as the optimizing titles and meta descriptions and formatting in Starter. But if you want the dedicated topic cluster tools like structured suggestions based on semantic analysis, that's available in the professional tiers. Reporting dashboards can be adapted to measure new KPIs as you discover what's really important to you. We definitely recommend a query-based strategy as you move into this, so you can work a new dashboard around branded search dominance. And these can be created even on the starter plans, and they're available across marketing, sales, service, CMS, and operations hub. If you want the custom reports and in the enhanced reporting, that's pro and enterprise tier. Now, campaigns are going to optimize your strategy around themes, not just keywords. We were talking a bit about that just now in the reporting dashboard. That's available with Marketing Hub Professional and Enterprise. And then the two tools that I'm really excited to talk about today are Agent AI. That's going to bring new AI assistants. They're developing and releasing new ones every day. You can make your own directly inside of the portal, but it's releasing these little AI assistants to help you automate repetitive tasks, generate insights, and accelerate execution in HubSpot and across your tools and funnel. So this is a next generation productivity boost, and that is agent.ai. So when you're done here today, go look that up, check it out. I know there is a way you can apply it to your strategy. And then the big thing that came out of Inbound this year, the Loop Marketing Playbook and the prompt library. This is making AI way more actionable. It's going to give you the pre-built field-tested prompts from HubSpot with playbooks that you can adapt right now for your strategy, your campaigns, and your reporting. It's really revolutionized what is the flywheel into a new, very easy to reproduce and grow. It's a scalable new system for the AI and GEO strategy. So this is going to be a big shift in your mindset. HubSpot isn't just your inbound engine anymore. It is going to be the foundation for helping build AI authority. So Angie, why don't you dig a little bit more into loop marketing here?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the next evolution of HubSpot and how we think about connecting with our audiences. So we want to make sure that we're definitely giving its due diligence here. I know it all feels overwhelming. Don't worry. You don't have to start from scratch. This is where geo strategy becomes practical. Loop's going to let you plug in your existing CRM data, campaigns, and workflows into a framework that's going to map prompts to real marketing challenges, your campaign briefs, optimization, buyer personas, and more. Think of it as your AI-powered marketing assistant inside HubSpot. It's going to enrich your data, help segment your audiences, and amplify your content strategy across all your channels. With Loop, HubSpot isn't just where you're going to run your campaigns. It's going to evolve. It's your AI-driven playbook for smarter execution. Loop is just starting to roll out, guys. This is all very, very new, exciting stuff that, like Lee said, just came out at Inbound. You can request early access to Loop resources and look at the prompt library on the HubSpot website. So we encourage all of our wonderful HubSpot users here today to go do that after this presentation.
Absolutely. So how do we actually get started? Because we've thrown a lot of information at you today. We've got a little roadmap here. You're going to start with an audit. Go in and use the HubSpot SEO tools that we just talked about. Identify where you have authority and where your technical gaps are, and then go ahead and start creating. You're going to start building pillar content around those branded queries. You're going to start adding your schema in or optimizing it if you already have it. You're going to work out those author bios, transcripts, or other original data. And then you're going to optimize. So strengthen and back that credibility with more original data or thought, long form content, expert authorship, and be consistent in your messaging. And then measure it. Adapt your dashboards to track your citations, your branded query share, your AI visibility, right? These are those components of the flywheel as they adapt into Loop marketing. So this isn't just going to be a one-off campaign. It's going to be an ongoing strategy for you, just like SEO was.
Okay, so we're not going to leave you guys hanging. We know that this is a very meaty topic. We've covered today how GEO transforms search and how HubSpot marketers can dominate AI-driven visibility. Now we want to give you guys a head start. If you want to scan this QR code, you can download your own copy of our AI Search Survival Guide. And don't worry, guys, if you don't want to scan this right now, we're also going to provide this presentation as a recap email. So get it now, get it later. Either way, we definitely recommend you check it out. It's not just another PDF. It's going to be a dynamic resource for you to build and align with Loop marketing and the foundational building blocks that we've covered today. It distills decades of proven SEO best practices into a practical playbook, or what we think is a practical playbook. It's going to cover strategy, actionable steps, insights you can implement immediately. Use it as a map to your content, strengthen your authority, and guide your HubSpot-driven inbound efforts so AI engines not only find you, but trust and cite your expertise. Think of it as a personal roadmap for turning today's GEO lessons into tomorrow's results. So go ahead, scan. We'll give a second. Scan the QR code if you want to. Ooh, oh, Kevin, thank you. Ooh, a piece of candy.
We buried the lead. We gave a lot of homework, so we should give a treat as well, right?
I love that. All right, let's go ahead and move on so we can wrap this up and give everyone some time back in their day.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, we want you to take away, of course, our search guide there, but we also want you to take away this formulative thought is that you need to focus on brand and niche marketing. Generative search is still evolving, and this framework is going to help you stay competitive. So maintain a balance in your strategy. You want to build that broad brand authority so that AI engines and those large language models are going to recognize you as credible. But you also want to develop that deep niche expertise where you can be cited in highly specific contexts. So as it becomes easier and faster to get lost in this vast digital space, you can adapt now to maintain a strong inbound marketing presence on Google and within the emerging AI search engines. You can build this on top of your existing SEO strategy because they're going to complement each other. And ultimately, the challenge remains the same for us as marketers. We don't just aim to be discoverable. We're really striving to be indispensable.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we open it up to questions. I know everyone's got a lot, right?